All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Lana Trucy, and I will be your locker room leader for today's chat on Sports Marketing 360 with Audi and the MLS. I'll be in charge of monitoring the chat function, and campers, you're more than welcome to ask any questions, and I will pass that along to Shauna. I will hand the baton to Shauna and let her introduce her amazing panel. Thank you all for being here, and I hope you enjoy.
Thank you, Lana. We're all really excited to be here, and we have we think a bit of a unique setup here in that we're all from kind of different companies, but all work to bring one sponsorship to life, Audi's sponsorship of Major League Soccer. So I'm Shauna Bercher, as Lana mentioned, and I head up experiential marketing at Audi of America, which includes sports marketing, but also includes auto shows, entertainment and lifestyle marketing. And we work really closely with all of the other marketing disciplines within our brand, social media, digital and content creation, and public relations. So we come up with a lot of concepts that kind of sit at the nucleus of those ideas and then give opportunities for everyone else to use their channels to bring it to life. So not just sports marketing, but that's probably what takes up by far the most amount of time for us. So working with me at our parent company, which is Volkswagen Group of America, and under that sits brands like Lamborghini and Bentley, and obviously Volkswagen, is Adam Perez, who works in our legal department. So he helps me put all of this together so that we can have a relationship with Major League Soccer. And then Robert Rodriguez works at 160/90, the agency that we retain to bring all of our Major League Soccer entities to life. And Rob has done quite a lot prior to coming to the agency side of working for media companies and teams and the league as well. And then Darius Barnes, who works at Major League Soccer and helps us bring all of the assets in our contract to life. And prior to that, spent 10 years as a professional player with Major League Soccer. So we have a really great team that allows us to do some really exciting things that you can even see on ESPN and Fox right now, as MLS just went back to play. So we have a new television spot that's out that we all had the opportunity to create right before COVID started. A lot of purpose-led marketing that we work with the MLS academies to bring to life. And then just a lot of other fun things that we're doing in content that you'll see with Major League Soccer, with a lot of the players. Taylor Twellman is incorporating a lot of it into his new show on ESPN Plus called Banter. And we have a really close relationship with DC United and their new venue called Audi Field also. So we're very busy. So I guess I'll start with Adam to just let him kind of give you some of his background and how he came to work with us on the Audi of America MLS partnership.
Thanks, Shauna. I appreciate it. And thank you, Lana, for having us here. It's great to be here. I'm really happy to be able to give back and share my experiences in my career. As a younger adult and wanting to work in the sports industry or just work in marketing and advertising in general, I wish I had some opportunities like this, like you guys do. So I'm glad for the attendees that are here that are taking advantage of it. It's a great opportunity to hear. My background is a little complicated. It varies a bit, but I just started working at Volkswagen Group of America. I work for both Volkswagen and Audi brand, actually. About almost 2 years ago now, I started, and I've worked with Shauna now for almost those 2 years, and it's been a great experience. My day-to-day job as a marketing compliance specialist at Volkswagen and Audi is to review the marketing and advertising for both brands. And what that really means is I'll review TV commercials, scripts for TVs, emails, digital banners, contracts even, anything that involves the marketing and advertising department and the consumer-facing materials that we work on for a compliance review. So basically, that's reviewing it from a legal aspect to make sure that we're complying with federal regulation and rules, and also our own company rules and regulations and what we want to represent as a brand. So that's kind of my background at Volkswagen and Audi. In terms of sports, I work pretty heavily with the Audi and MLS sponsorship on all those advertising materials. And I also get the benefit of touching some of the Volkswagen stuff, as they're the major sponsor for the U.S. men's national team and the U.S. women's national team. So a lot of the U.S. women's national team things that you guys saw during the World Cup, the last World Cup, I got to kind of play a role in that. So it's been fun to be able to go back and forth between both brands. Before this, I worked a little bit at Discovery Channel, just working on on licensing agreements and the financial aspect of it. And then before that, more sports specific, I worked at Nike in Portland, Oregon. I worked on athlete contracts. So I would work with the business units to sign athletes, specifically in the soccer category. I worked for U.S. soccer athletes, MLS athletes, and then Latin America and some Asia Pacific. So basically, the business would go out and try to sign athletes. I would work with the agents and those business representatives to make sure that the negotiated contract gets put into actual contract form, and make sure all the bells and whistles and everything works in the contract for both parties, not just for the brand, but for everybody. And so that's been my overall experience in the industry. And one piece of advice I wanted to start off this conversation with is to really persevere in what you want to do. And if you know you want to do something, really go for it, and understand that there's going to be times where you may or may not know what avenue to take, or something kind of diverts you, and the ability to pivot and be on your toes is probably the best piece of advice I can give you. It's not going to go 100% how you plan it, but being able to adjust and problem solve, not only for the brand or the company you work with, but for yourself. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me. So that's really all I have to say. So I'll kick it back off to you guys to introduce.
We're fortunate to have Adam. He keeps us out of trouble.
I try.
And comes up with some really creative problem solving when we come to some stalemates within our contract. So we definitely appreciate that.
Thank you.
Adam, I do have one follow-up question for you. You have a master's degree in sports management. Did you think that was important for your career development, or can you give some insight as to maybe why you decided to explore a master's degree and what you think that's given to you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. I forgot to mention. Yeah, I got a master's degree in sports management from Georgetown last year. I just graduated last year. And I think it was very valuable for me personally, just for personal growth. I'm a little older for my age group in that master's program, actually. So I just turned 31 this year. I'd started the program at 29. So I took that time in between undergrad and going to get my master's to really understand and focus on what I actually want to do instead of rushing that process. A lot of times I saw some students who were younger rush into a decision and then ultimately not get everything they wanted out of the degree that they were looking for. So I think from my personal experience, taking the time to really understand where I wanted to go and for the rest of my career, it was important for me to wait. And I think I wouldn't have gotten the same knowledge, the same wisdom from people I worked with, teachers, developing mentors in the program, that I wouldn't have gotten when I was maybe 22 and a little more, maybe just naive or, more confident in myself and thinking, oh, I have this, things like that. I think I was a little more humbled and a little more, accepting of information and understanding what it took to do well in the program, but also what it takes after you're done with the degree and where you want to go, and how to navigate that, because that's also just a navigation in itself in terms of building those relationships in the program that you go into, keeping those relationships, being genuine about them, being honest and open in your relationship, but also wanting to have them and really work on them, because that's what's going to take you honestly a lot further into your career than you could even think of. People use that cliche, relationships, everything. it's some of it for sure. It's definitely some of it. Your hard work and the things that you learn and do and understand will get you there, but you're going to need other people at some point in your career to help you out. So I think for me that was the biggest takeaway, and on top of the knowledge and things I learned in the textbooks as well.
That's great. Yeah, relationships are really, really important. I think we all agree on that topic. One other question for you. You've worked in a legal capacity for quite a long time, a good portion of your career, writing contracts and working with athletes. But you didn't go to law school and aren't a lawyer. So how do you see that, or how do you feel that's maybe the pros and cons of that and the people that you work with?
Sure. So the pros, I don't have the stress level as some of my colleagues do. Being a lawyer and being an attorney, even, non-sports and just a corporate firm, my first job, I'll tie it to a little story. My first job was at a law firm in Manhattan, right off Wall Street. I was 22, wet in the ear, no clue what I was getting myself into, but I wanted to experience it to know whether I wanted to actually go pursue being an attorney or get into the business world, whatever it was. And I kind of knew right away that, I think I can navigate this route that I want differently than having to do certain things that I felt like pressure to, or just felt that wasn't for me. And so I think the pro is understanding that like early on, and instead of going into it and feeling down about myself. I know a lot of people who have gone and done it and then just backed out and had just took on more debt, took on other things. So it's important to kind of understand and navigate, okay, what you do and don't want to do. Cons, a little less respect around the office, I'd say. But, attorneys are a little bullish, but I keep up with them and they're great. And, for me in my career, it's helped me understand exactly where I want to go. And, I'm looking to make shifts in my career, especially to get ahead. And so for me now, it would be great to, jump to the business side and use the knowledge and not lose the knowledge that I gained over the last, 9 years, but actually use it to my advantage to make differences in other key departments at a company, which I think are invaluable. So I think that that's also a huge pro for me as well, that I can be able to do other things that maybe other people in the business side might not know of or understand as much, since I've been through it on the back end.
Sure, no, and I would definitely agree with that. I think working in that legal capacity and in contracts so much, a really strong sense of due diligence and attention to detail. It's a really strong experience and skill set to have to bring to almost anything else that you can apply it to. So I think that's great. Cool. Thank you, Adam. Rob, we want to move on to you. Tell us a little bit about where you've been prior to coming to help my team come up with super creative ideas and make Audi look good with MLS.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's helpful to start from the beginning and where my love for sports all started. I was a 3-sport athlete in high school. I thought baseball would be my way out of where I grew up in my neighborhood. And I quickly learned that wasn't going to be my path forward, and quickly pivoted to sports marketing. And I went to school to get bachelor's degree in sports marketing. And out of that time in college, I spent interning. I graduated with about 5 or 6 unpaid internships at the time. I think they're paid now, but at my time they were unpaid, which helped land me my first job at ESPN. So I spent some time there, worked with a marketing agency after that, and then quickly transitioned to working with the Atlanta Hawks in Phillips Arena. So Atlanta Hawks, for those that you don't know, are a basketball team. So I helped in partnership activation, which meant I helped bring to life all of those assets that the sales team was having done on the back end of things. So I had clients like Cricket Wireless and UPS. So anything that you saw at halftime or on TV, I helped put together. I wanted to come back home to Chicago. That's where I'm originally from. That's where my family is. And I landed with 160/90. I worked on a couple of accounts in Allstate and now Audi. And I helped bring their sports sponsorships to life. So anything that Audi is looking to do in sports, I'm sort of the quarterback and the person who sort of makes that happen between, Audi and their partners. And I think a partner could be described as Major League Soccer themselves. So anything that you see within the broadcast of a match, so the signage that comes up on the screen closest to the field, our team at 160 helped put that together. Anything that you might see on ESPN, for instance, a halftime show, or on Fox, I and my team help put that together as well. And Shauna, you mentioned we lean on celebrities and influencers to help amplify our message. So our team is responsible for going out and picking and choosing who the best fit for Audi is, and we work with those guys to help amplify our message, whether that's through a photo that they post or a video that they post. We help facilitate the back and forth between Audi and those different partners.
That's awesome. Thank you, Rob. What are some of the things that we've started to look at for how we're identifying either those partners, properties? You might want to even talk about the academy that we have coming up. That's like a little sneak peek for people. We haven't told anybody about this yet, but some really creative ideas to bring to life some really specific programs that we put together that might be a little tricky or kind of non-traditional for a sponsorship.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think, the one thing we're challenged with from Audi is making sure that we're authentic in the space that we're playing in. We don't want to be a sponsor that just puts our logo on something. We want to be a sponsor that makes a connection to the player on the field and helps progress their level of play to get to that next level. So a sneak peek, as Shauna mentioned, is in August we're premiering a first of its kind content series on Bleacher Report, which I'm super excited about. It's called the Academy, and it highlights the inner workings of what takes place behind the curtain before those kids get to the first team level, right? So as part of our sponsorship with Major League Soccer, Goals Drive Progress is a big initiative for Audi. And that's helping support resources in education, housing, and transportation for the academy kids who are coming up through the system. And that's a lot of information to sort of display in, whether it's a banner ad or a TV commercial. So we thought that we would, dig a little deeper and spend real time with an academy and show them the pros and cons of being part of an academy. There are some challenges. Some of these kids are away from home, away from family. So it's really difficult for them to leave at a very young age and be away from what they know all their life. So Audi is helping support, those three pillars that are really crucial to teenagers and young kids leaving home for the first time. But again, it's, our team is tasked to, making these sponsorships come to life in a very unique way versus slapping our logo on a field board or a banner ad. We really want to be part of the game, so to speak.
And that's why I love Rob. He's a really close partner of ours, knows exactly that I don't want to just go do anything and try to make it authentic. I think that brings up a good point of Audi's positioning within any of our sports marketing or marketing initiatives. We are a brand that's all about innovation, design. Obviously, we're a luxury product too. So we're really thoughtful about how we approach that market and the partners that we work with. So we're working with Major League Soccer because they're kind of this, a little bit more of a challenger brand, newer, younger, which is also something our brand is in the US versus maybe our competitors like Mercedes and BMW. So we do approach everything from a really thoughtful perspective as to how we bring all of those things to life, rather than just, as Rob mentioned, putting our logo places or doing kind of the same thing that might make sense for a Heineken or an AT&T isn't going to make sense for us. So we're very specific about all of those things. And Darius helps us bring all of those things to life. We bring a lot of far-fetched ideas to him, and then he tells us what we can and can't do within the confines of our relationship, or gets really creative with that within MLS to push on a lot of other people to make some really magical things happen for Audi, and we really appreciate him. Darius, you want to tell us a little bit about your path to Major League Soccer?
Sorry, yeah, definitely. First of all, happy to be here. Happy to join and, you know, kind of share my story as all the other panelists have done. So I'm Darius Barnes from Raleigh, North Carolina, and my background really is that of a player. I played college soccer at Duke University. So if there are any UNC fans in here, I'll ask Lana to kick you off really quick. But no, yeah, I played at Duke University, and then, you know, ultimately I was fortunate enough to kind of live out a childhood dream of mine and play professionally in Major League Soccer. So I've spent 8 years playing for the New England Revolution up in Boston, and then I played 1 year in a league right below the MLS in ASL with the New York Cosmos, and then ultimately decided to retire. And for me, I really kind of to want to be a collective person. I wanted to kind of see what my calling was outside of sports, but I still wanted to be involved in the game. And, you know, I've always had a yearning to learn and figure out the business behind sports. I've always just, you know, known kicking a ball, or when I play basketball, shooting a basketball, but to know what really goes on behind the scenes to make the functionality and kind of make the engine tick a little bit was something that I really desired to learn and wanted to really dive into a little bit more. So my last year playing, you know, I'd go over to the MLS offices in New York just to meet with different departments and really kind of see what it was all about. And, you know, it was really, you know, eye-opening to me just to see what goes into putting on one single match, let alone a season or a certain event. And then, you know, what really kind of tickled my fancy was seeing how sponsors engage with the league and, you know, how they wanted to engage with the league to bring their brand and their products to life. So ultimately ended up securing a job in our partnership marketing department where I am now, where I manage the likes of my favorite client, Audi. And then I've also managed Adidas, Johnson & Johnson, MGM, SeatGeek, and Southern New Hampshire University as well. So I have a diverse kind of portfolio of clients, and it's really amazing to see how they really kind of find synergies, you know, with Major League Soccer. As Shauna mentioned, you know, we're definitely a young and innovative league who are kind of pushing boundaries and are trying to be a little bit more progressive than maybe some of your other leagues who are more established. I always look at MLS as kind of an established startup where we have that opportunity where we're really young and we can take some risks. And, you know, that's really exciting about the league. So we're in a position where, you know, we've grown tremendously over the past couple years. And I think we're in that kind of established phase right now where we really can take some leaps and bounds to catapult this league and the sport of soccer in this country.
Oh, that's great. Is there anything that you feel like your professional career, professional playing career, really prepared you for as you made that transition into the corporate side? And do you think marketing specifically was something that you were really interested in or better prepared for, as opposed to maybe working with athlete relations or anything else, I guess, within the league, competition maybe?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I know a lot of athletes kind of feel like they have to get pigeonholed into kind of a certain bucket when they're done playing, where they have to coach, where they have to be an agent, where they have to kind of be more competition and technically focused. And I'm here to tell you that you can go down a number of different paths. Like I said, I really wanted to learn the business behind the league, and maybe not while I was playing, but looking back on it, there's definitely experiences playing that prepared me for my role now, just in terms of doing player appearances with the local brands, with the league. At the time, I kind of just saw it as kind of community engagement, but you're really engaging with different brands and seeing how those brands interact with athletes and those certain clubs, and the synergies that align there. And then also just being able to kind of use your social skills, use your platform, if you will. I think using your platform and really leveraging that to help brands and market yourself and brand yourself as an athlete. You can take those certain experiences where now that you look back on it, those are experiences that are transferable to to my current role. And I really value those experiences that I was able to take from my playing days and really transfer them to what's going on now. So maybe in the time when I was sitting in the seat as a player, I didn't realize that that's what was going on. But when you start to look back at things, they're part of your story, and they build on who you are, and you can take those little experiences and continue to stack those up, and those really make tell your story and where people are now.
No, I think that's really critically important. And I would ask that of all three of you, actually. I mean, you all were athletes in college and in some capacity. I think I was as well throughout my college career. And I do find, even when I've been in other positions, I tend to gravitate towards hiring athletes. The work ethic seems to be there for sure. A lot of us have had to get up and train really early in the morning, still figure out how to get our schoolwork done, try to have a social life, and excel at anything that we can. All of you have had really varied backgrounds, I would say, too, and seem to be really well-rounded or have really diverse experiences. Can you guys talk about how that's prepared you for your roles now, or if you've had just a lot of varied interest, and how you think those different skills have helped you in different ways? Or if they have, or if they haven't, rather than just staying one job, staying the course, that's the only thing that you're ever going to do, which for me would be really, really boring.
Yeah, I can start. I'll just say, I think playing a number of sports when I was younger helped expose me to, diverse groups of people, diverse backgrounds, had diverse experiences in terms of just how the sport is played. Growing up playing soccer in North Carolina, I was definitely kind of a minority on the field, but like I said, that exposed me to some things that have definitely helped me in the corporate world to this day. So I just think those little experiences that you're able to stack up and that you go through, throughout the course of your life, whether it's through sports or through school or, through jobs, all those experiences, kind of like I mentioned before, tell the story of who you are, where you've come from, what you're aiming to do. And then just from a professional standpoint, I think it's important to expose yourself to different arenas and kind of put yourself in positions sometimes that you may not be comfortable with. I know I've talked with the group about this earlier, just getting comfortable being uncomfortable. I think that's a trait and a skill that's really important. For me, it could have been, like I said, easy to be a coach or go down the more, technically or athlete focused route, but I really wanted to kind of stretch my boundaries and, see what I could do from a corporate standpoint. And for me, being in the partnership marketing role where, I manage the contractual assets for Audi, I'm able to, even internally in the MLS offices, I'm exposed to, our digital team, our content team, our brand team, our PR team. So I work with a collective group of, cross-departmental functions. And you're able to kind of learn a little bit about what those departments do while you're doing your single job. So even when, you secure that job, you never stop learning and you're continuing to add different skills or tools to your toolkit.
Yeah, I can add to that, especially what you said at the last part, Darius, about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think one thing to add to that is being comfortable with pressure. I think that goes along with moving around and doing different things. And my career, I've jumped around to three major brands in three different major markets. Sporting goods, TV media, and now auto. And I've kind of gone in, with a blank slate just from what I've learned before, but you kind of have to learn and adapt while you're getting thrown into the fire of what you're working with. And I think doing that time and time again, maybe not jumping around from job to job or whatever, but just putting yourself in different positions to learn something that you didn't know before. For the next time that happens, you're going to be so much more prepared and not as nervous or uncomfortable. And you may fail along the way, like your first couple times or whatever, and you still may fail at a senior level age, and at certain points in your career. But it at least guides you in the right direction of understanding, what to expect at least, and how to prepare yourself for the adversity to come or for anything that's unexpected. So yeah, I would agree completely with that.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think one thing that sports really has taught me is how to handle certain relationships or certain personalities. I think in my day of playing, I definitely ran into some coaches who were a little more tougher than others. There were some coaches who didn't believe in me, and you always had to overcome that. In the workplace, it's similar. You'll run into some supervisors or some bosses that don't necessarily believe in the work that you're putting out. Or for instance, I needed to leave a company to pursue my career in the NBA, and before that, I needed to take a stepping stone at another marketing agency. And when I gave my 2-week notice, my supervisor at the time said, "I'll never work for an NBA team." I told him that was my dream at the time. And 9 months later, I got a job with the Atlanta Hawks. So it definitely teaches you how to handle and how to tread through those different personalities throughout your career. Because supervisors and bosses are a lot like coaches, and I think that really helped.
Yeah, and I think that all of you addressed in some way on relationships and communication and how to deal with people. I think that's is a really, really critical component to everything that we do. All right, we've got some questions coming in. Adam, the first couple are for you. We have a couple kind of around the same topic about whether it was harder to get your job without having gone to law school. And are there any limitations with what you do without a law degree? And is that something that is technically a necessity for your job and you've just been able to get around it because you're so good at relationships?
You're gassing me up here. No, well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, there's definitely been challenges. I mean, there are certain learning limitations in terms of what to do, what you can't do, and those things come along. You figure those things out, and it kind of goes along with the being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like when I first started, I didn't know much. I had a baseline idea of things, and I was going in kind of just, like you said, working with how I built relationships with people and them trusting me that I would learn how to handle, my job and the job that they were giving me. So for me, there's definitely some limitations in terms of limitations of the job itself. Career-wise, yeah, you're going to be limited. I mean, there's going to be a point if you don't become an attorney in my field, you're kind of at a peak. And there's a cap. So in terms of roles and opportunity, there's definitely going to be limitations. But what I said earlier on in the beginning is that's why I have a vision of what I really want to do and use the skills that I've obtained over the last several years. And I know that they'll transcend and become, utilized in a different role in a different department of the company based on what I've learned and done. And like I said before, I think it's actually going to become an advantage at some point when that opportunity comes. So again, it's just a matter of adapting. You know, I'm just going to have to adapt and make with what I have created, you know. And so that I think, you know, there's going to be some limitations, but you got to work with that. That's just the nature of the beast.
I think that's great. And that's a really good question. The next one for Darius, but I think Rob might have some insights on this to expand upon from examples from Audi's relationships as well. Does each team secure their own partnerships, or do they have to go through the league office for approvals? So for example, how do the Colorado Rapids end up with an Audi Q5 and a Toyota RAV4 next to one another? So I think they mean as display vehicles somewhere at the venue. So does MLS supply sponsors with league-wide, I think league-wide sponsors for camera footage for each team, or does each team go out and secure their own sponsors, and do they have to be approved by the league office? So a couple of questions in that one question.
Okay, yeah, I can try to answer that kind of more broadly in general. So just to the first point, MLS as a league manages our own sponsorship. So we go out and sell sponsorship at a league level. And there are some league sponsors who have local deals with some of our clubs. So Audi has a league sponsorship, and then they also have some smaller partnerships or sponsorships with some of our clubs, like Sporting Kansas City, New York Red Bulls, to name a few. But the clubs are allowed to go out and sell their own sponsorships, and you know, some of those sponsorships can compete with our league sponsorships, but there are just limits into how those are publicized when it comes to national broadcasted matches. So there's a couple different layers to this, if you will, and even it kind of comes down to the category that, you know, certain sponsors are sold or bought into. Some clubs can, you know, break the auto category into, you know, luxury vehicles or domestic vehicles. So, you know, there's different ways, and, you know, what you buy into, you're allocated a certain number or a certain category of assets. So those assets, if say Audi bought into the luxury category, those assets that they receive could be much greater than, you know, a Toyota or Ford that buy into the domestic category. So that's pretty much how to explain it in its simplest form. I'm sure Rob could probably give a little further clarity and context around that, but in its simplest form, that's basically how the league manages from the league level and the clubs from the club level.
Yeah, Darius, I think, you know, as much as we don't like to see Toyota next to Audi, we have to deal with it, right? There's local teams who strike their own local partnerships, and Audi is a league partner. So unless Audi doesn't sponsor that specific team, that team is free to go out and contract another sponsor in the auto category. As it relates to game footage, the MLS does help us attain those rights. You know, there are some, you know, there's some red tape that we have to go through. For instance, we're going through the approval of footage for the Academy content series that we had mentioned in the beginning of this call. But a lot of times we'll either, one, need to strike a deal with the player themselves to use their name and their likeness in the video that we're looking to publish, or if the player fully supports you know, the mission and the video series that we're putting out there, which I think a lot of them for this specific content series that we're about to publish will be in full support of. All we need is simply, you know, a yes, you're okay to use my name and likeness in this footage. And then Audi and MLS will work together in attaining the rights to use their name and likeness in our content series.
A yes in writing, by the way, Rob, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. See, that's how it all works full circle. So to further explain that maybe a little bit more from a league partnership. So I work at Audi of America, which is, we work nationally across everything. So our relationship with Major League Soccer is a national partnership that also includes broadcast partnerships with ESPN and Fox also. So anything that you see on a television broadcast of a Major League Soccer match, any on-field LED signage, that comes through our Major League Soccer partnership. And then any of the commercials that are in that broadcast, same thing in our national deal. And we have regional offices that may have a relationship with, as Darius mentioned, like it could be New York Red Bulls, Sporting KC. They then have some signage that's in the venue that may or may not be TV visible. Most of that would be more concourse signage, or some of our partnerships have an Audi exclusive parking lot that only owners of Audis can park in. A lot more kind of hospitality assets and things that their dealers can use. And then we also have a couple of clubs that have partnerships with one specific dealer or dealer group, such as Portland or I think Salt Lake, where that dealer has decided to have a relationship with them. So they may use their logos in their dealership, maybe they have player appearances in their dealerships. We have a couple of different levels of different partnerships that you may be able to see. So hopefully that's helpful. All right. Lana, anything else that, questions that you're getting that we can answer for anyone?
Yes, we have one for Darius. How did you balance being a student at a college as tough as Duke as well as being an athlete?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, that's one that I asked myself when I decided to go to Duke. I was a little, self-admittedly, I was a little bit intimidated. I was always a good student in high school and coming up, but just kind of hearing the name Duke on the surface level is quite intimidating. But I think that the best piece of advice I got, when I went on one of my official visits to Duke, was to just do the work, like prioritize everything and just do the work and get the work done. Don't let things kind of sit off. Just make sure you're kind of developing a schedule at the beginning of the week to make sure, you account for practice times, for all your classings. And I think it comes down to organization and just prioritizing your tasks. I think those are the biggest things. And, as I went through Duke and the 3.5 years I was there, I think, that's something that couldn't have been more true, just organizing myself and making sure I got all the work done. You may not know the right answer to every test, or, you may not, know how to write every paper, but, being able to put yourself in a position to figure it out and to take advantage of office hours and just taking advantage of all the resources that are given to you. I think that's a theme that anyone can take, and not just in school, but in life, is just, taking advantage of, what's been presented to you, what, the resources that are tangible for you, because, you're going to need people to help you in life. You can't do everything by yourself, and can't be afraid to raise your hand for help, or, ask for advice from someone, or for someone to connect you for an internship, or, whatever it may be. Take advantage, because, people are here to help, and people definitely want to help. It's just a matter of speaking up, and, closed mouths don't get fed is what my parents always told me. So I think that's kind of carried on in life as well.
I'm going to use that. One other thing that I've noticed from all of you talking about taking risks and being flexible, and knowing all of you, each of you, I think, has moved all over the country for jobs or for opportunities or for school. How do you think that's been something that's important for you, or has played into success, created more opportunities? Has it been difficult? I've also moved probably more than 7 or 8 times all over the country, and traveled abroad quite a bit. How has that been important for you guys? Or also just for advice for young people of being open-minded about relocating, because it can be a little scary at first. All right, Adam, I'm going to pick on you. You just made a big move.
Yeah, so I've moved twice personally, both cross country. I'm originally from New Jersey, and I got that job in Manhattan, and I decided I wanted to kind of up and leave and challenge myself a bit. So I honestly just packed up my car and drove to Portland, Oregon. without a job, without nothing. So mine's a little riskier, way riskier than most.
That's a big risk, yeah.
Yeah. I had nothing planned, knew no one really, just my girlfriend. And we kind of just took a chance and went out there. And I knew there was companies there like Nike and Adidas who were headquarters there. So, it wasn't without any small calculation, but their companies are big, and you're just a small fish in a really big pond. And so definitely taking some risks. It's made me grow up to the person I am today, I think. I don't think I would have found who I am personally, my own personal voice, had I not left the comfort of my New Jersey small town home and the area and the people I've surrounded myself with for 24 years. You kind of adapt to the people around you at times, and sometimes you start to say and do things maybe that you're like, yeah, I'm like, this is just who we are. But then I started to really find who I was really in Portland, and really just being on my own just made me, not even professionally, just as a person, just a better person and a better adult. I just learned a lot and learned other perspectives and different people's opinions, and moved to a place that was completely different from where I grew up. And then, to move here to Virginia, when I made that decision, it was easier. It was much easier because I had grown and learned so much from the first move, what to do and not to do for sure. But also just grown, like I said, as a person. So it was a much easier decision to take that risk again, because I knew I could count on myself because I've done it before. And I knew kind of then how to navigate that a lot better. So that way it was actually, a very easy transition compared to when I was 24 and kind of clueless, but yeah.
And you don't have a New Jersey accent because you left there, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had a Jersey accent, but I've adapted well. Yes, for sure.
And Rob, what about you? You grew up in a big market, but decided to leave it. And what was it like making that decision that you wanted to live in a specific place and then finding a job in that location? Was it helpful to move away and then come back?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, in college, I was able to relocate to California. I went to LA for a year as part of a program that they had called Semester in LA, where, we actually studied under marketing executives for Paramount Pictures and Universal Studios. So I learned some entertainment marketing during that short stint in Los Angeles. Received a job offer from one of my professors there. That lasted 6 months, and I quickly learned that Los Angeles wasn't the city for me. I was getting a little homesick. I was, a senior in college, and I really didn't know what was next. I just knew that I didn't want to be in Los Angeles any longer. Made the move back home, where I worked for, ESPN for a little bit of time. And then the opportunity for the Atlanta Hawks came about. And as I was, looking for those opportunities in the NBA, I quickly discovered that an opportunity for the Chicago Bulls wasn't coming anytime soon. So I had to take the opportunity where it existed. And that took me to Atlanta. Atlanta was a great city. I still have some of my best friends who lived out there. I think Atlanta is sort of where I grew up as a professional. I made great connections out there. I was able to network a little bit more because I had a little more confidence. I think, you quickly start to understand once you've sort of reached the ceiling in that sort of role that you're currently in. And I reached that ceiling with the Atlanta Hawks and got the opportunity to move back home with 160/90. But those experiences definitely showed me what I didn't want to do versus what I truly want to do and where to be.
That's great. And Darius, you definitely moved around quite a bit, but you also had the opportunity to play almost your entire career with one team, which is kind of unusual. What was that experience like?
Yeah. Well, just to start off, I think, I was fortunate enough, obviously, to play a sport I loved. And, soccer's a global game. So it's taken me to so many crazy places that I never would have imagined growing up. So I've been able to just to play all across the United States and Canada and Mexico. And when I was younger, played in Europe a bit. But I think just, like you said, I was fortunate enough to play my entire career in the Boston area. And I think for me, soccer was my way to travel a bit and see different parts of the world. Because if not, I was kind of a homebody growing up, through, all the way through college. I stayed local for college. So from when I was born till, I was 21, 22, I was in the North Carolina area, obviously as my home base. But getting drafted to New England and moving to Boston, it's a big culture shock, and it's a huge difference, going from the Southeast to the Northeast. But it was something I was definitely grateful for because I think both, Rob and Adam, alluded to it. It's where I grew up. It's, where I really learned who I was as a person, where I started to, develop my professional skills a bit. And I really changed. I could definitely see myself change when I moved to Boston. And I think that time in Boston, those 8 years in Boston, just meeting different people, having a slew of different teammates, been on having so many different team dynamics, so many different cultures in the locker room, having different, conversations with people who I never would have been exposed to otherwise, really helped me grow as a person. And I think, that time in Boston helped me when I was able to transition and move to New York, because New York's a beast of a city if you're not prepared for it, and it can definitely swallow you up. And I used to go there to visit, and I would tell myself, I love New York, but I could never live here. And then life comes around, and here I am living in New York a couple of years later, and I think I've acclimated well, and my experiences before definitely prepped me, well to handle and manage the city. So I think it's just a testament how everyone's, speaking on, those things are part of your story, and it's part of your experience. And, if I would have been at a certain stage before, you might not have been mature enough to, to handle it, and, to handle it with such grace as you are now. But it's all part of your maturation process, and just, being exposed to different environments is never a bad thing, especially when you're young. If you have that opportunity to, move a little bit and, like we said earlier, get outside of your comfort zone when you're young and before you have, kids or a family, my advice would be to take advantage of it, because, you're going to learn something, whether it be good or bad, that you can, take with you in your next experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. All right, we have 2 other questions for you, Darius. Did you start looking at colleges while you were a junior or senior in high school, and where specifically you wanted to play soccer? And then a follow-up question that has nothing to do with that, on whether there's some internships available in media and marketing at MLS.
Yeah. So as far as like the recruiting process, it's kind of ongoing. I didn't necessarily grow up a Duke fan, but, they started recruiting me, and I just, spent so much time over there. And, it's all about, what you get as a feel. I had a family feel to it for me, and, they had a successful program, and obviously the schooling is, second to none in my opinion. So I think, you make decisions with, everything in mind. You can't make them all on emotion or just taking, one aspect. You have to really look at it holistically. And see the bigger picture. And for me, that was Duke. So I actually ended up committing to Duke when I was a sophomore, because I just got that feel, and that was somewhere that I really wanted to be, and I wanted to, get my education. And I thought it could, prep me for if I had, professional aspirations post playing. In terms of, internships or opportunities at MLS, obviously COVID has hit everyone, pretty drastically, but we do have an internship program that we usually offer in the summers, where they'll place specific, students or young professionals in a variety of different departments. throughout the league, where I think it's called our summer immersion program. So there definitely are internship opportunities at MLS. I'm happy to, follow up with Lana after this to see what that's looking like going forward. It'll probably resurface again in 21 when hopefully things get back to a new normal, if you will. But yeah, definitely opportunities at MLS as far as internships go. So definitely happy to stay connected and stay close on that.
Well, that's great. Thank you. I have one other question. Maybe Rob can shed some light on this. We also, Audi is a big, obviously global company. We have relationships with soccer clubs all around the world. We're fortunate to be a partner with FC Bayern, who just won the Bundesliga. And they've come to us since they can't travel this summer, and we've put together some really creative assets with FC Bayern to bring them kind of to the United States virtually. But we've used a lot of our Major League Soccer assets to bring all of that to life. Can you maybe shed some light on the creativity of taking two different partnerships, two completely different leagues and entities, and putting together some creative content and really engaging experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as Darius mentioned, COVID-19 has affected us all, and the way that any team or sponsor puts on any of their events in 2020. So FC Bayern has something that they call the Audi Summer Tour, which is essentially an experiential event that travels the world globally. And they get out in front of fans, and it's an opportunity for fans that, aren't in Europe to, have some FaceTime with FC Bayern. This year, they came to us with an interesting sort of dynamic of putting on this tour digitally. And we took full advantage of that and was able to partner with Alphonso Davies, who came from MLS. He was a part of the youth academy system there, and now he went on to FC Bayern to become, really the league's hottest star right now. Just won Rookie of the Season. Taylor Twellman, who's a partner of Audi and the face of Goals Drive Progress, has gone on record of sort of labeling him the best forward in the league. So high praises from Taylor Twellman, who says these things on ESPN. So we were able to land an interview with Alphonso Davies with Taylor Twellman. So Taylor Twellman has already interviewed him, and that interview will be part of a sponsorship that we have with Taylor's show on ESPN called Banter, where Taylor will uncover what it meant for Alphonso to be part of the youth academy system in MLS and how it helped shape him to be the player that he is today. And that's important for players who are in the academy system now. They see players like Alphonso Davies or Tyler Adams coming from the New York Red Bulls really having success overseas. And those players have come from MLS and the academy system, and we're helping support that. So that means a lot to, I'm sure, Darius and the MLS team, but to Audi and the brand, because we're looking to continuously support the players to reach that next level of competition. And with the Audi Summer Tour, we're able to take that digitally and highlight a star like Alphonso Davies, which is pretty cool. So we have that piece coming out with Taylor Twellman and Banter next month, or at the end of this month, I believe. July 25th. But he's also part of the Players Tribune, and we've done some work with the Players Tribune last year with Taylor Twellman and Carlos Vela, who was the Golden Boot winner of the season last season in 2019. So we have a good relationship with those guys. They've decided to jump on board last minute and help us write a piece about Alphonso Davies' upbringing and what the academy system meant to him, what it means for him to be part of FC Bayern. He was also part of their academy system for a little bit as well, and his rise to stardom. So with the Goals Drive Progress program, we're happy to support the players that are part of the academy and hopefully see them reach that next level.
Great, thank you. Well, Lana, I know we're a little bit over time. We've got a couple of other questions yet. I don't know if people can linger or if we need to wrap it up and let everyone go.
Let's do another 5 minutes.
All right, well, lightning round, guys. This one has to be really, really quick. Who's your favorite MLS team? Are we allowed to just have one favorite team? Darius, I'm gonna start with you.
I feel like I'm obligated to say New
Quick
England.
answer.
So I'll go New England. They look pretty good this year, and they've had quite a turnaround. So I'm gonna go with New England.
Strong.
Yeah,
Rob?
for me, I have to roll with the Chicago Fire. Sporting KC is an awesome club. I root for them. They're a great partner. I've made some good friends there, but I have to rep the hometown team.
For me, my best friend actually from Scotch Plains, New Jersey, plays in the MLS, Brian Meredith, and so I basically follow him wherever he goes. So he's been on Miami and Vancouver already this year. So right now he's currently playing for Vancouver. He played most of his career with Seattle. So, but basically any team he goes, I'm going to cheer for and root for and pay attention.
All right, so one player fan. I like it. I like it. One other question that this one's a little concerning, but a really, really good question, actually. I haven't noticed much Audi advertising, and MLS is back. The Adidas logo is huge at center field. Why is that? Why aren't we seeing Audi? Rob, this is a problem.
Yeah, it is a problem. It's concerning, Darius. I don't know. We're one of the league's largest spending sponsors, so you should see a lot of our branding, whether it's on the field in the match or the TV commercial that runs outside of halftime, or the game is often sponsored by Audi. I think once we get to the knockout round, we're the presenting sponsor of the knockout round, so you'll see a lot of Audi branding there. But I think Darius can probably chime in a little more on that Adidas logo.
It sounds like Darius needs to get us some more logo placements.
Great question.
I know you guys have just added to my plate today. No, it's unique. If you guys are watching the MLS's back tournament, you'll see the signage is very different and kind of innovative than a standard MLS match. So we've tried to, account for our partners and kind of help our partners get some more kind of brand exposure, if you will. Like we mentioned, COVID has taken a toll on us all. So we've had to think outside the box in terms of how we're creating this exposure, for our partners. And like Rob mentioned, Audi is definitely one of our priority and key partners. So maybe just tune in a little bit more closely. I think Audi's had some pretty huge logos, and their commercial, if you guys haven't seen it, is awesome, promoting Goals Drive Progress. Their media spin and their media buy with ESPN and Fox is top notch, and how they're being integrated into the broadcast is second to none. So like Rob said, tune in for the knockout stages as Audi's the presenting partner for that. And you should see a couple more logo integration. And also Audi's just updated their LED signage around the wall that looks fantastic, promoting the e-tron. So hopefully going forward, if you're able to tune into the matches, you'll be able to see the Audi logos and Audi integration highlighted a bit more.
Sounds like we should be able to get an R8 at center pitch for maybe halftime or something. Would be great post-game, Darius. No, that was a really, really good question, actually. We've got a lot of MLS fans tuning into us right now. We've got some Atlanta United fans, Colorado Rapids fans, that's great. DC United and New England Revolution, that's great. Those are both partner clubs of ours. Some LAFC fans, really great stadium there. Philadelphia Union, that's great. We've got a lot of fans. We need hopefully they're all tuning in and can see our logos somewhere there. You can also go to mlssoccer.com/Audi and see a great piece of content that we just produced around the MLS academies too. So cool. One last question. Any information about the Charlotte team? A lot of North Carolina folks.
Yeah, I mean that's one I'm certainly excited about. Kind of touches home for me, or close to home for me. So excited for when Charlotte will enter the league. I think that the latest news is I think the team name and kind of their branding and logo should be announced here in the next week or two. So they'll start to have a little bit more of an identity. Hopefully some merch and product will start to be produced. So you can start to get all your fan gear and start to get ramped up. So it's definitely starting to come to life a bit more. I work closely with our consumer products team who helps the clubs and expansion clubs bring their jersey designs and their product apparel and help the clubs create their crests and all that good stuff. So it's really unique and fun to start to see that brand come to life. So hopefully everyone in the Charlotte and South Carolina area are starting to get excited for MLS to come to Charlotte.
That's great. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. This has been really insightful for me. I enjoy working with all of you every day, so hopefully all the people who have tuned into us had a really good experience and can learn from your experience as well. And I think, Lana, all of us are happy to answer questions at any time or be helpful in any way that we can to all these young people as they venture into their sports careers.
Yes, thank you all for being here. Campers, we'll see you at 4 o'clock. Please be sure to visit our website at the Daily Agenda and register for that session. Again, thank you, Adam, Robert, Darius, and Shauna for being on this panel today, and I hope everyone enjoyed.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.